Welcome to Woman, where nothing is off limits and every conversation brings us one step closer to healing, becoming, and thriving. I'm Modupe, and I'm so glad you are here. So let's talk. Let's start with the body, because that's usually where this begins. One day, everything works the way it always has, and then, seemingly overnight, nothing feels familiar. I hear this story constantly. I've experienced it. A woman is sitting in a meeting, mid-sentence, and the word she needs just vanishes. Gone. She's known this word her whole career, and now she's standing there, blank, while everyone waits. Or she's lying in bed at 3 a.m., wide awake for no reason, heart racing slightly, and she has no idea why her body woke her up. Or she snaps at her husband over something so small it doesn't even make sense to her 5 minutes later. And she thinks, who was that? That wasn't me. That's not you losing your mind. That's estrogen. Estrogen touches almost every part of your brain and body. Mood, talk about memory, temperature regulation, sleep. When it starts declining and fluctuating, all of those systems feel it at once. The forgotten word, the 3 a.m. wake up, the short fuse, they are not separate problems. They are one root cause showing up in different rooms of the house. This isn't in your head, and it's not early dementia, even though I know that fear crosses your mind. I've had women whisper that fear to me like a confession. What's actually happening in your body is your body adjusting to a hormonal shift bigger than anything it's managed since puberty. That's why perimenopause can feel like your whole self is glitchy, not just one thing. And here's where it stops being just physical. Because when your body changes this much, this fast, it doesn't just affect how you feel, it affects who you think you are. Picture this. The woman gets dressed for work the way she has for 15 years. Same routine, same mirror, same 5 minutes. Except this morning, she stands there a little longer than usual, looking at a body that doesn't quite match the picture in her head. Not worse necessarily, just different, unfamiliar, and she thinks, I don't recognize myself, and then feels almost embarrassed for thinking it, like she should be over vanity by now. But this isn't vanity, this is identity. You build a sense of self around a body that behaved a certain way, predictable cycles, a certain energy, a face you recognize without having to look twice. And now that body is different, and some days you catch your reflection and genuinely ask, who is that? That question, who am I now, isn't dramatic. It's honest. When the ground under your identity shifts, of course you would feel unsteady standing on it. Yes. And what you've been feeling in that moment, that's grief. Real grief. Even though nobody hands you a card for it. Think about a woman who used to bounce back from anything. 3 hours of sleep, a full day of meetings, cooking dinner after, still standing. Now she needs a nap just to function. And some quiet part of her is mourning that old version, the one who never seemed to run out. Or a woman who watches her last cycle come and go and feels something unexpected. Not relief, which is what she thought she'd feel, but sadness, a door quietly closing on a chapter she didn't realize she wasn't ready to close. We don't usually talk about menopause as a loss. We talk about it as a phase, a checklist of symptoms to manage. But you are allowed to grieve the version of yourself you are leaving behind. The fertility, the energy, the face, the body you knew like the back of your hand. Grief isn't only for death. It's for anything that ends, including a chapter of yourself. Yes. And grief gets complicated fast when the thing you are grieving is staring back at you every morning in the mirror. I think of a woman standing in a fitting room, holding a dress that used to fit perfectly 2 years ago and it doesn't fit the same way now. And instead of thinking, my body changed, the first thought that comes is, I let myself go. That voice is loud and it's cruel. And most of us have heard it, you know, we have heard it saying something just as harsh at some point this year. Your body looks different now, and the world doesn't always make that easy to sit with. The scale moves, the shape shifts, and somewhere in the middle of all that, a lot of us start talking to ourselves in ways we'd never let anyone else talk to us. I look old. I don't look like myself. As if aging were a failure and not just life doing what life does. Your body isn't betraying you here either. It's carrying you through one of the biggest transitions it will ever go through. It deserves a kinder conversation than the one most of us are having with it. And that conversation matters because somewhere along the way, a lot of us tied our worth to the very things that are changing right now. How we looked, how much we could do, how needed we were. A woman who used to be the one everyone called first for advice, for help, for a shoulder, start noticing she doesn't have the energy to be that person the same way anymore. And instead of thinking, I need to rest, she thinks, I'm becoming useless. That's not a fair trade she's making, but it's one most of us make without realizing it. We quietly decide our value is tied to our output. So when the body shifts and the energy dips, it doesn't just feel physical. It feels like evidence that you are worthless than you were. I need you to hear this clearly. Your worth was never in your waistline or your energy level or how much you could carry. If it was, it could have been fragile all along. Real worth doesn't fluctuate with your hormones. So if your worth was never in any of that, who are you underneath the changes? That's the real work of this season. I think about a woman who, for the first time in years, sat in her car in silence for 10 minutes before going inside. Not scrolling, not making a call, just sitting. And she said it felt strange, almost like she was meeting a stranger. That stranger was her. She just hadn't spent quiet time with herself in so long. She'd forgotten what it felt like. Reconnecting doesn't mean you are backward, chasing down the woman you used to be. It means getting curious about the woman you are becoming. It means coming home to your own voice, your own needs, your own reflection, and meeting her without judgment. Your body changed. That's true. But you didn't disappear. You are still there, underneath the noise, waiting to be listened to again. Thank you for spending this time with me. If today's conversation spoke to your heart, share it with another woman who needs to hear it. Remember, healing is possible. Becoming is lifelong. And you don't have to walk this journey alone. Until next time, keep healing, keep becoming, and keep striving.